So Dave, take it away, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity to present. My name is Dave Savaline. I'm with the Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division of the Federal Communications Commission, and I'm here to talk about the Emergency Broadband Benefit, or EBB for short. What I intend to cover includes what the benefit is, who is eligible, how households can apply for the benefit, and finally to introduce the FCC Partner Toolkit, which contains a number of free materials that can help spread the word about this program. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the benefit? Well, as part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021, Congress created the Emergency Broadband Connectivity Fund, which is $3.2 billion, with the intent to provide a temporary discount on monthly broadband bills for qualifying low-income households. The benefits are of two variety. First, up to $50 per month discount for broadband service and associated equipment rentals. And if a household is on tribal lands, the benefit can be up to $75 per month. The second benefit is if an internet service provider also provides equipment like a laptop, desktop computer, or tablet to their customers, a one-time discount of up to $100 can be obtained for the purchase of a laptop, desktop computer, or tablet through the internet service provider. I'll just say at this point, two things that this benefit is not. One is that it is not a check that shows up in the mail, much like a pandemic benefit check that people may have received. This is a discount that will show up as a discount on someone's internet service bill. And if their internet service costs less than $50 per month, then essentially this would be free, and the bill that they receive would say that they don't owe any money. And the money, the benefit can be applied to the modem rental, router rental, equipment kind of costs as well. Another thing that it is not is a gift card to Best Buy. The $100 discount would be towards the purchase of a device through the internet service provider. It is not something that is a benefit that you can then take to whatever retailer you want and get the $100 discount. So I just wanted to make those two points clear at the beginning. Next slide, please. So who can qualify for this benefit? Well, a household is eligible if any member of the household receives any of a number of different federal support program benefits. For example, if they received a Pell Grant during the current award year, if they took advantage of free or reduced school lunch programs, if they experienced a substantial loss of income due to a job loss or furlough since February 29th of 2020 within certain income limits. Specifically, if the household had a total income in 2020 below $99,000 for single filers or $198,000 for joint filers, because this program is designed to help people in low-income households, those caps are in place. Or if a household meets the eligibility requirements of a participating provider's existing COVID-19 or low-income program. If you have an internet provider that already has a program to help people out during this pandemic, that can help you qualify for EBB. Next slide, please. Finally, if a household already qualifies for the Lifeline program, then they automatically qualify for EBB. For those that are not familiar with Lifeline, it's been around since 1986. Pardon my slip of the year tongue. So Lifeline is a federal program that offers a discount on phone service, and it has been expanded to be applicable to internet service. And if So eligible customers can receive up to a discount of up to $9.25 per month. And if they're on tribal lands, up to $34.25 per month towards their bill. How does one qualify for Lifeline? If a household has income that is less than 135% of the federal poverty guidelines, or the household participates in any of a number of programs such as SNAP, Medicaid, Supplemental Security Income, Federal Public Housing Assistance, Veterans Pensions and Survivor Benefits, and a number of other programs as well. I will note that the last study that I had seen suggests that only a quarter of the people in this country, or a quarter of the households in this country that would be eligible for Lifeline, are actually taking advantage of it. So this may be an opportunity if you are speaking to constituencies about EBB. You may also want to raise the subject of Lifeline, because they may be able to apply for both on the very same website. And I will get into that in a moment. Next slide, please. Okay, so you can get one benefit of each type per household. So what's a household? If you have experience working with federal programs, you may have an idea of what a household is defined as. But for this program, a household is a group of people who live together and share money, even if they're not related to each other. So if you live together and you share money towards bills, utilities, rent, mortgage, etc., you are one household. If you either don't live at the same address or you don't share money together for these expenses, you are two or more households. So a household can qualify because of any member of that household qualifying. So that can include if a household has dependent children that meet the eligibility criteria of receiving the free or reduced school lunches, or an elderly dependent that receives SSI, etc. But you can only get one benefit per household, the $50 per month, or the purchase of the equipment, one benefit per household. You may have to answer questions about your household when you apply for EBB as part of determining eligibility. But there is a household worksheet that is, it should be available right now because the program went live this morning. It should be available to assist consumers in determining whether their household is eligible. Next slide, please. Okay, so a lot of people obviously live in multi-unit dwellings. If you live in an apartment building, if it's an assisted living facility, if it's a homeless shelter, or other situation where multiple households may live with one address, each household within that address may apply for EBB. When you have a multi-unit dwelling where the landlord or property manager is the account holder for internet access, if, for example, the landlord has established internet access for all of their units with a particular provider, the landlord or property manager may be able to apply for that broadband benefits for the households within the multi-unit dwelling. Long story short, it probably would be worth it to work with the landlord or property manager to make sure that any eligible household can apply. And if someone has an outstanding bill or other liability for internet access, that does not mean that they aren't eligible. They can apply for service with the same provider they had before, or they could apply to an entirely different internet service provider. And so we don't want that to be something that discourages people from applying for this. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I mentioned, enrollment started this morning, so recently that I haven't been able to update this slide. But at any rate, it is important to note that the emergency broadband benefit is a temporary program developed in response to the pandemic. So this program is going to end when one of two things happens. Either one, the program's funds are exhausted, that was $3.2 billion, or it will end 6 months after the Department of Health and Human Services declares officially that the pandemic is over, whichever comes first. And for those people who are familiar with Lifeline, Lifeline is a very different program because it is ongoing. It happens every year. It is paid for by the universal service fee that is on everybody's phone bill. So if people are applying for EBB, they may want to apply for Lifeline so that they have an ongoing benefit to help them. The program, both EBB and Lifeline, are administered by the Universal Service Administrative Company, or USAC. We love our acronyms in Washington, D.C. What can I say? So it's USAC. And the website, and this is, if there's one thing that you take from this presentation, it's going to be the name of this website, the USAC application portal, and their consumer information on this program is getemergencybroadband.org. One more time, it's getemergencybroadband.org. Next slide, please. Now, there are two consumer protections that have been baked into this program that are important to know. One is that since this is a temporary program, obviously there's going to be a moment when this program ends. So participating internet service providers are required to give households notice about the last date that the full or billing cycle that the full benefit or partial benefit will apply to their bill. They also will have to give information about how much the broadband service will cost after that program ends. Secondly, we didn't want households to be stuck paying something that they may not be able to afford once the program is over. So when the program comes to an end, households will need to opt in. They will have to request to continue broadband services with that provider. If they don't opt in or select a new service plan with the provider, then that broadband service will end once the program ends. So that helps keep people from getting a surprise shock, you owe us money kind of bill. But it's also important for them to know that they'll have to make a decision once the program ends, whether they want to continue or not. But those are two important consumer protections to be aware of. Next slide, please. So the participating providers, it's important to know that not all internet service providers are participating providers. They had to apply to the FCC to become a participating provider. And a list of participating providers by state and territory is available on the FCC's webpage for EBB. And that webpage is www.fcc.gov/broadband benefit. Again, that's www.fcc.gov/broadband benefit. And on that page, on the list of participating providers, there's also an indication as to whether that internet service provider provides equipment to their consumers, thus being able to offer the $100 discount. And there's one other thing I will note at this time. For the equipment discount, mobile phones are not eligible. It has to either be a laptop, a desktop computer, or a tablet. And that was written into the law that enacted this assistance program. Now, we utterly are aware that lots of people access the internet using mobile phones. And if someone uses a broadband service that is a mobile broadband service that just goes directly to their mobile phone, they can still get the $50 per month discount. The only thing that they can't do is get a $100 discount on purchasing equipment. That equipment has to be a tablet, a desktop computer, or a laptop. So it would be a good idea to take a look at the list. It's sorted by state and territory as to all the providers that have signed on to be participating providers. Next slide, please. Okay, so how does somebody enroll? So there's 3 ways to enroll. The first way is to contact a participating provider directly to learn about their application process. Some internet service providers will have an alternate verification system, or they may offer assistance in filling out an application, or some of them may be willing to print out an application and mail it to you. So one can apply through a provider in that way. The second way is to apply online at, here's that website again, getemergencybroadband.org. There's a link near the center top that says how to apply, and right on that menu you'll find a link to start the application process. The third option is to mail in an application, either printing it out from the web page or asking a internet provider to send you a mailed printout copy, and along with proof of eligibility, such as a copy of unemployment benefits, or proof of using school lunches, or any of the programs that I mentioned before, and sending it to this address. I'll just read it here. Emergency Broadband Support Center, P.O. Box 7081, London, Kentucky 40742. And that address will be on the last slide as well, in case you need to write it down. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, there's Enrolling Via a provider, and USAC uses something called the National Verifier Service. They use that to find out whether someone is eligible for Lifeline. They are also going to use that for the EBB, and the service provider can help you navigate through alternate verification processes that they may have. But that's one way to do it. Next slide, please. And applying directly online, again, it's getemergencybroadband.org. Click how to apply and complete the electronic application. And once you receive an eligibility determination from the national verifier, then the consumer can go to a service provider with that eligibility in hand and enroll in EBB. Because ultimately that is how the benefit is delivered. It's through the internet service provider. So one still has to contact the service provider and sign up. Next slide, please. And finally, applying by mail, downloading and printing a paper application. And some providers may provide consumers with a printed out copy, and mailing it to Emergency Broadband Support Center, P.O. Box 7081, London, Kentucky 40742. Next slide, please. Now, when applying for this, there will be a requirement to confirm one's identity. Applicants may be asked to provide certain information or documentation to verify their identity, address, or eligibility. That information can be mailed or submitted electronically, and examples of acceptable documents can be found on getemergencybroadband.org under the menu How to Apply, and then the submenu Show You Qualify. I will mention one additional thing. There had been questions about using the last 4 digits of your social security number. In a version of the USAC online application that we had seen before, that was one of the ways somebody could help confirm their identity. But we realize that there are some people that are very nervous about using the social security number for identification. We just wanted to make sure people know you do not need to submit your social security number. It is not a requirement. There are other ways to verify your identity, etc. It's one way, but if someone comes across that field on the application process, there's a link underneath it saying, click here if you don't want to provide that number. Next slide, please. So finally, the Outreach Toolkit. It's a collection of social media printables and other tools that can assist partners, community groups, grassroots organizers, etc., in raising awareness around the EBB program. All of the resources on that webpage are accessible to the public, downloadable, and free to use, and can be co-branded or adjusted to match your voice so that you can better serve your constituencies. Next slide, please. So contents on the Outreach Toolkit includes the social media tools such as logos, draft social media posts, newsletter inserts, draft press releases. Next slide, please. I think provides examples. There we go. So various images that can be used for social media purposes and press releases. Next slide, please. Printable information, flyers, handouts, infographics, posters. Next slide, please. And finally, videos and public service announcements, both audio only and video. And I know that we have one in American Sign Language coming out, but I will check to make sure that that is on the websites. Next slide, please. Now, all of our information is translated. Most of it is translated into 5 languages, but we have translated the fact sheet, the info cards, and a quarter-page handout in 12 different languages. In addition, if there's anyone that would like any of these materials in accessible formats, such as Braille, large print, electronic files, audio formats, there's an email address that you can send a request to. That's fcc504@fcc.gov. Again, that's fcc504@fcc.gov, and we can try and provide the accessible versions to you. I will also note that the application itself online is in English and Spanish, but our consumer information is going to include information on how to fill out the application in these various 12 languages. Next slide, please. So again, our EBB consumer information hub at the FCC is www.fcc.gov/broadband benefit. The toll-free number for people with questions, and that includes people who would like assistance filling out the application, is 833-511-0311. That's 833-511-0311. And finally, once again, the online application and a bunch of the consumer materials are available at getemergencybroadband.org. And with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Great, Dave. We have 2 questions that have come in so far in the chat. Our first question here from Brian. He just wants to confirm, community members must get approval through the FCC website first before calling their internet service provider. Calling their service provider first will only determine if the service provider participates and provides the benefit. Can you clarify?
No, you don't need permission from the FCC. The USAC has its national verifier system that it can use to help determine whether you have eligibility, but the providers themselves may have an alternate eligibility provider method that they're using for, say, a pandemic program or a low-income program that they themselves are running.
I missed it.
So it is not required that someone get permission from the FCC by any means. You can start the application process in any of those 3 ways that I mentioned. So going directly to the provider, going online, or mailing it in, and then you take it from there. But it is not required that you go to the FCC first.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Our second question is from Tina. Tina says, there are houses on tribal lands in my community, but the land is rented from the nation. The people who live in those houses actually are some of the most wealthy in our community. Would they still be eligible simply because their homes are on tribal land?
No. The question as to, I mean, if their income level exceeds the cap, then that I mentioned before, the 99,000 for single filers or 198,000 for joint filers, then they would not be eligible for the program, even if they happen to reside on tribal lands.
Thank you, Dave. Our next question is from Heather, who asks, could you talk a little about how Verizon, AT&T, and other cell providers fit or don't fit within this program?
Okay. You see, it's different providers have applied to participate on a state-by-state basis. The listing of, I'm trying to bring up the correct website here. Let's see, I'm looking at, if you want to go directly to the webpage, it's fcc.gov/, and there's 4 words separated with hyphens. Emergency broadband benefit providers. And that link is also available on fcc.gov/broadband benefit. Actually, let's see if I can copy and paste it into chat. Oh, you already did. There you go. So the and on that webpage, if you click on New York, it will take you to all of the internet service providers that have applied and are participating in this program. And you can scroll and see which ones are participating, and the check mark is for those that are offering the connected devices that you can get the $100 discount on. And it's also labeled there as to whether they are fixed or mobile, but I can offer up to $50 per month on the internet access, the broadband access.
Okay. Dave, I'm just going to raise a question I heard in another webinar that I thought was interesting. If an entire school or entire town is eligible for free or reduced school lunches, does that mean anyone who lives in that school district would be eligible to apply and receive the benefit?
I believe the income cap, if there was an income, if someone's household income cap exceeded, then they would not be. But that's part of the eligibility checklist that's that you can take a look at and see if you can check off the check mark that your child takes part in the reduced or free school lunch program. That's one check mark. But if their household income exceeds the cap, then I believe they would probably run into an eligibility issue.
Thank you. And then similarly, on the question of if you suffered a job loss or reduced income, both of those components have to be present, right? You have to be below the income cap, and you have to have suffered some reduction in job hours or wages. Is that correct? You can't just be under that wage cap.
Correct. Excuse me. If you're being eligible because of the substantial loss of income, which can be proven by job loss notice or furlough notice, then you have to also be under that income cap. It's not meant for CEOs who lose their jobs. It's meant for lower income households to be able to afford during this pandemic.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? You may put them in chat or unmute yourself and ask. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. If you're one of our member libraries, I did send out some flyers and handouts, which I downloaded from the Outreach Toolkit on the FCC website. So hopefully you'll be able to make those available at your desks for patrons in the library. Also, STLS has scheduled a bunch of social media posts using the social media graphics from the toolkit on the website. So you are welcome to share those on your own social media pages. And we do have information on our STLS website as well, with links to the FCC applications and information, which you are all welcome to use or share through your own website or in social media. I'll just ask one more time if there are any questions. Dave, is there anything else you would like to say to us or about the program?
Well, this is my other cat. This is Bella. Apart from that, there was one other email address that I wanted to share and make sure that you knew about. If anyone has questions, well, thank you. I'll let Bella know. If anyone has any questions on the program or policies or specific questions about an individual case, feel free to send those questions to broadbandbenefit@fcc.gov. That's broadbandbenefit, one word, @fcc.gov. And we will try to address questions as we possibly can. Obviously, today was the day that the application window opened live. So we're certainly anticipating a lot of new and interesting questions as any potential kinks in the system get worked out. But we look forward to those and looking forward to helping people access this program and take advantage of it.
Great. Thank you so much, Dave. We really appreciate it. And we'll also get out the word about Lifeline, which I didn't know much about before today. So looking forward to promoting that as well. We really appreciate your time, Dave. And thank you for joining us. Thank you,
Thank you for
everyone.
this opportunity.
Okay. Bye.